Okay, so welcome to Checkpoint Firewall training, guys. So this course is actually will guide you what you all need to know about Checkpoint Firewall. So we'll start from beginner level and we'll go to advanced level. So in this course, if you go on Checkpoint website, so you can see their basic certification is CCSA, so which actually introduce you to the device, what is its architecture, how you will like create labs, like how you will do basic tasks on firewalls, like creating policies, doing routing or doing licensing, netting, these kind of stuff. And further, they have their certification CCSE, which go deeper concept wise. So your HA comes in that in CCSE. And then they have their like cluster Excel, which is their own protocol used for HA. Then they have performance features like core Excel, secure Excel. So if these things are not making sense to you as of now, no worries, because going through this course we'll go first, we'll see what they do, these features, and what are the commands which you actually need to know once you have to do the troubleshooting, right? So another certifications which Checkpoint offers is their CCMS, which is for their like MDS. It stands for like MDS specialist. So that is their management. On management, you can do virtualization, you can create multiple domains, like multiple management center inside a single box. And then they have their CCVS, and this is VSX specialist. So this is for when you create your firewall, like virtual firewalls on a single firewall. So this certification is dedicatedly for that product. So we are going to combine all these uh, certifications stuff into a single course. So after completing the course, I am like quite sure you can clear the interview. That there is no doubt about that. But my actually motive is, after clearing this, completing this course, you guys will be able to actually work confidently on the product. So it's not about clearing the interview. Okay, so these are what you are seeing, all the topics that we are going to cover. So I want to give clear expectation to all of you guys that what we are going to cover. So first we are going to go through the architecture. So you need to know, okay, so once you are running, you're working on infra where the company is using Checkpoint. So where the architecture of the firewall actually works, like from where you have to push the policies, where the traffic hits, how the logs processing works, everything. Uh, and then we will see the deployments, what are the options we have. Then we'll see fundamental of firewalls. So when you start learning any firewall, so we know that firewalls work on stateful inspection feature. So this feature was actually introduced by Checkpoint itself, because this vendor is in this field from beginning. So this feature was actually introduced by Checkpoint itself. Then we'll create the lab on version R80.10. So I know the latest version is 81.20, but there are minor differences. But why we'll begin creating lab on this version, so that we can see the upgradation, and in that lab part we will actually go to this version from 8110 to 8120. Then we'll see the packet flow. This is very important actually in all the firewalls. So you need to know, okay, so once a packet hit the firewall, what things it checks in the order. So until you don't know, you will also face problem while creating policies. So these will be the basic tasks, like how you create the policies, before that you have to create the objects, and we'll see how many different type of like objects we have and how to create the policies. What is the best practice of creating the policies? So another feature is anti-spoofing. This feature is also offered by other firewalls. So we'll see like first of all what this feature is, and then how to actually you have to configure this feature on the firewall, and some basic commands then that you have to use to actually verify, okay, so your anti-spoofing is correct, right? So in Checkpoint we use a term called firewall blades, but it is actually features that your firewall has. So we know that this term is very next generation firewalls is very popular, and this is like firewalls come with many features like IPS, URL filtering, content awareness, identity awareness, so many features. So these features we call as blades. So I'll actually define what are all the blades, and we'll be using those blades when we will proceed further in this course. Then we'll discuss about licensing, how you different commands you have to use to verify the firewall still have valid license, and how to do the licensing on the firewalls. Then we have NAT stuff. So those who are already working, so I hope you already know what is NAT, right? So we'll see in Checkpoint we call terms like auto NAT, manual NAT. There is other two terms also, hide NAT, static NAT. So we'll see, but things are same. We just see the terms used by checkpoints are different, but yeah, we'll cover these as well. Then we'll see routing. So we're not going to cover dynamic routings. Like we can cover some basics, but this is not the agenda of this course, because this is not a routing course, right? This is the firewall course. Then we'll see the upgradation, because this is often when you will work in the organizations where you are working on firewalls, you guys know. So time to time we have to upgrade the software versions. So what are different options you have in the Checkpoint, and what are considerations you have to keep in mind while you are doing this? And then obvious the failover stuff, because companies, they do not want outages, so you will see always firewalls in failover in HA running. So how to configure it, how to troubleshoot this. And this is SAM database. These are also kind of special rules. We'll see when we have to create this, and what is the difference between creating these rules versus your like the things we'll cover here, how to create the policies on the firewall, right? Then we'll cover VPN stuff, how to create VPN on Checkpoint, remote access VPN. Deployment of log server is like firewall send logs to the management center. You can actually deploy a dedicated device for which will work as log server. So this is mostly used by companies, like big companies, who on regular basis they generate more number of logs. So these were the topics which actually gets introduced in your CCSC once you go via the certification perspective. So these are performance features. If I'm going to explain these now, maybe things won't make sense to you as of now. Yeah, but later on in the course, when we'll have classes dedicatedly on these topics, I'll sure you guys will be able to understand. So further, you have your management servers also we can deploy in HA. We'll see how to do that. And then we have this MTS. So this is where your all this CCMS certification is based on. So we'll see why at the first place, why we need this MTS. What is the actual need of this one? And then once you know, okay, you need this, then how actually we need to deploy this, how we actually need to maintain this, and some how to do the troubleshooting once we know there is an issue on the MDS level. And then your VSX is your virtual firewalls. So within a single device, you will create multiple VSX, like virtual firewalls. So how they are going to function together, and some troubleshooting. And then general troubleshooting, I'll cover all the stuff like what are different, how your approach will going to be when you do the troubleshooting on the checkpoint firewall. So I missed one thing in the last page about doing the lab creation. So we'll do it on EVNG. And for you guys to practice, I would say at least you should have 16 GB with SSD i5. At least you should have this server with this configuration. If you will have more, you guys can run more machines, but if you guys have less, you will face problem. Okay, so about myself, you guys already know my name. My name is Harpreet Singh. I have total like more than 5 years of experience working on checkpoint devices. So I started from version 77.30, and now I'm working on the latest one as well. During the course, I'll give you insight like what kind of issues I'm facing, I'm resolving on a daily basis. So you will get good examples. So up to this point, okay, so to begin with, when we actually start learning about any firewall, right? Any firewall. So we know there are multiple vendors who make firewalls. So first of all, when you use any device, or even I always think like even when you use any feature on any device, the first thing you need to know is why we are using it. Whether it is a device or it is a feature, what is the benefit it will bring to you and to your network if you will use it. So this is the same question, why we have to use firewalls in the network. So mainly I see like two reasons, right? First is we want to protect our network. So you will see your firewall being deployed as your edge device. So this is the symbol we use to denote your firewall. So we use it as edge device, and this side will be your LAN, this side will be your DMZ network, this side would be your WAN. So when your traffic is going through LAN to WAN, or traffic is coming from WAN which is not managed by us, this is the untrusted network, and we know that many attacks come from this way, and we need a device, a protector, which will help to protect your LAN and DMZ network from this WAN side. So we need to protect our network. So if you know your switches and routers, they don't do this, right? So now how firewall is able to perform these functions? Because it has these features. It has IPS feature, which works on the signature basis. So once traffic coming from WAN side is trying to go to your LAN or DMZ, so by doing these scannings, it knows the signatures. Okay, if I find these signatures in this traffic, there is a malicious activity. So it have other function like threat prevention, antivirus, anti-bot, sandboxing. So due to all these features, it know how to protect our network. And other major point which I see of this device firewall is it enforce restriction. So we know, like we know how these corporate works, right? So if you have user, it's not going to be all the users are able to access everything. So if my team does not have to do anything with social networking, I'll block those social networking websites for this team. Now obviously for all the members who are working in LAN, websites related to like any gambling or any pornography or anything else. We do not want those websites to be open for our end users, right? So these kind of restrictions we want to apply to our users. And on the top of it, so if you want to create we do not have any client in China, and we know that no, we won't expect any traffic from this country. So you have the feature on firewalls like geo policies. So based upon those policies, it actually can block all the requests coming from a specific country. You have your application control feature. Like if you also have like Zoom as an application, and you can create policies for that on firewall. Or even firewall is that much smart. So on Facebook, you can just block Facebook post or Facebook games. Rest of the activities you can do on Facebook, but these kind of stuff like posting a picture, posting a video, you won't do it because it's application aware. It actually can see, okay, even your traffic is HTTPS, but you're doing this activity. And content awareness is, okay, you want your internal team to download documents but not PDFs. So it is content awareness. This is a PDF file. Firewall can do that. So these are two major points which due to which we deploy firewalls in the network. So these two pictures just explains the same thing I explained on the last page. So this is here, this picture is just showing firewall is protecting your network from the internet. This is a malicious or bad traffic. So this is application aware, like we want general Facebook to be allowed, but not Facebook games. Yes, we can do this with the firewall. Okay, now let's start this checkpoint part. So we always start with what's the architecture of the checkpoint firewall. And you will see, you will always listen, okay, there are three main components. First is your smart console. Second is your management server. And third is your security gateway. I'll explain you on this page. So we are already working on like different vendor firewalls or switches or routers. We know like what is PuTTY software, right? So on your machine, you will have a PuTTY software, and if you have this router or it is a switch, so we know that through this PuTTY is a terminal software, right? So you put the IP of this router. So what would be its IP? You put the username and password, and through PuTTY you take the session of this router. So similarly, Smart Console is an application which you install on your end machine. So this is your end machine. So you install your Smart Console application here. I'll show where to download that from. So once you have that application, this is your first component in the tier architecture of Checkpoint. Now second is your security management server. Now in Checkpoint, once it comes to create policies, whether it is ACL policies in which we just define, okay, so this is the machine. Now I want to create a policy. This machine can access anything, like destination would be any, source would be this one. So we do not do the policies creations directly on the firewall. So it's not like I do SSH of this device or like the web GUI of this device. I do the policies creation on firewall. No, it's not like this. So in Checkpoint, basically you will have this device. Now we'll discuss whether it will be your on virtual environment or there will be appliance based thing. So you will deploy this device, security management server. All your policies you will create on this device. So whether it's ACL thing or it's a VPN policies or it is a NAT configuration or it is like your IPS or any other blades configuration. So all these things you do on your management server. So this is your second component. So once you like do all these configurations here, now you want to push these policies or changes on the firewall. So from here you the changes go on the firewall, and this is your third component. And traffic actually hit the firewall, and basically what policies you created and pushed on the firewall. So firewall will going to like whether it's going to permit the traffic or it's going to drop the packet will based upon the policies obviously which you have pushed. And if I talk about like order operation, how you will make the changes. So on your machine, and this will should be Windows machine where you will install your smart console. You cannot do on like Mac OS or other vendor. So on Windows you should have this smart console software already installed. You will open this, you put the IP of the management server, like in PuTTY you put the IP address of the router. Then you will enter the username and password, and that's how you will log in on this management server. So you will see a web UI of the management server. You will see the options to create the policies like related to the feature you want. And once you have done that part, so you will have the option to install those policies. So once you do that, it actually do the compilation of the changes you have done. It will form a code, and that code goes to the firewall. And so once you log in on the firewall, you actually cannot see those changes like the same policies you are seeing here. So it's actually the code which goes to the firewall. So communication in the forward manner, communication happen this way. Your smart console talks to management server talks to firewall. And reverse is also this one. So if I talk about reverse communication, so once traffic hit the firewall, so we have seen in another firewalls as well, right? So we want to see the logs, like which traffic is going through the firewall, and we know that when it has to troubleshooting any scenarios, seeing logs is very beneficial. So firewall generate logs but does not keep it on itself. It actually send those logs to the management server. And now when we want to see those logs on the management server, so we see those on the smart console. So reverse communication happens this way. So firewall does not send logs to directly to smart console. It's sent to the management server. Okay, this is just a kind of animation I have done just to so that you guys can understand. So we create the policies here, and policy get pushed to the firewall in the form of code. Okay, so about the operating systems. So we are mainly going to deal with two operating systems like in this state. So one is your Windows, where you have like the first component in the architecture where you install the smart console. Your machine has to be Windows. And Gaia is checkpoints on developed OS. Is hardened on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, but on the machines where you run your this security gateway, which is your firewall, and your this is SMS, stands for Security Management Server, and security gateway is your firewall. So do not get confused with these terms. This is what we just saw there. So firewall we call as security gateway. This is your security management server, or you can call it management server also. Okay, so we are in 2023. I like most of the customers using this 81.10 version. So we'll also be doing labs on this version. Latest is this one. And once I started working on Checkpoint, so they were on this one. They were they recently introduced this version, so I saw the upgradation from this version. There were like huge differences from this version to this version. Yeah, so once we create the lab, just for the fun fact, I'll tell how it used to be in this version and what they did in this version. So it's like their major version, they run for like 4 years. So if you see this version, they introduced in this one, and the end of sport was this. Yeah, they do it for like 4 years. Now, as of now, this version is end of life, and I believe these are also. So the valid ones are these ones, 81, 81.10, and this one. But you do not have to worry, because there is not much difference on this version and 81.10 and 81.20. The only reason, like as I stated earlier, why we are doing this lab on this one, so that once we have to upgrade, we will go from 81.10 to 81.20. Okay, about the deployment options. So we know the two components we saw, your management server and gateway. So you have the option, Checkpoint offers their appliances. So for gateway, you will see for gateway, companies use appliances from the Checkpoint itself. And for management server, we use virtual machines. But you also have options like open servers. So like there is a server from Dell, or there is server from HP. So you can run your devices on open servers as well. So if you go on this link, I will show you. So this link is actually Checkpoint, like HCL stands for hardware compatibility list. Yes. So you can see these are like, if you see, okay, if I'm going with the option of buying the open server from Dell, or your company already have open server. So you can see, okay, if you have this server, you guys can run these versions for the security gateway for the management server. But I don't think this is a very common option companies do. So mostly what I have seen, for the gateway, companies use hardware which is being offered from the Checkpoint itself, because they have made their firewalls in that perspective. It works pretty well with their software. For for the management server, we use virtual machines. Okay, so once you will actually deploy, comes to do the deployment, right? These are terms you should be aware about. So we have a standalone option. Standalone is you have single device, could be physical, could be open server, could be your virtual machine, and you're running both management server and your gateway on a single device. So you have a single device, you're running both the things on the same box. To be honest, I have never seen this in my entire career. Both things are being deployed on a single device. So the one that you will see is the distributed deployment. So in which you will have actually two devices. Now, as we just saw, this could be physical, this could be virtual or open server, but basically the popular one is, this will be the appliance from the Checkpoint, this will be your virtual machine that you have created. So the thing will be, these will be two different machines. So your firewall is being run on a different machine, and your management is being run on a different machine. Okay, so like other firewalls, So we have you will mostly run your firewall in a router mode. So it's like okay, so once you have selected, okay, we are going with the distributed one, but once you deploy the firewall and you now have to choose, okay, whether to run the firewall in the router mode or bridge mode. So you will go with the routed one. So routed is firewall will work as layer 3 device, the most common ones that you have seen in your carrier. But we also have this bridge mode option, so in which your firewall will work as a layer 2 switch. So basically we do this if you already have a running environment. You want to deploy the firewall, but you do not want to change the IP address. I think in ASA we call it as transparent firewall. It's the same thing. Okay, it's the same, like this actually PPT slide is talking about the real world deployment, which we actually see. So in real world, like I said, we will see distributed deployment. We always deploy the firewalls in cluster, or it means HA, redundancy. So in case if your one firewall goes down, you will have another firewall which can take place and can start processing the traffic. And for the management server, we do on the virtual environment because of scalability. So this point, central management like on-prem or cloud. So if I go back to slides, so this management server, we call it like central management solution. Like why we show that? So this management server, we just talk, okay, this is managing this firewall. But even if we have any firewall, it's in a different location. So you have this office in India, and you also have another office in, let's suppose, Canada. So this is a firewall, this is a firewall. You only have a single management server. So this management server can also manage this gateway. Or even if you have firewall deployed in cloud infra, like AWS, you have deployed your checkpoint device here. So still you can manage your management server, sorry, your gateway through this management server. So that's why we call it as central management solution. So you have single management server and you are managing your different devices. If you ask question how many we can do that, basically depends upon resources on the management server, and it depends upon the license also, what you have on your management server. Okay, so another great thing that we can see, like if your network grows, like it become bigger, so what you actually can do is, like if you see this slide, I have a single management server here. You guys can see this. Now, I just told you, like once traffic goes through the firewall send logs to management server. In case, like if you are managing this firewall as well, which is on a different location, or you have like different firewalls within this single infra, you have single management server, obviously there will be a lot of logs generation which will goes to your management server. And it's actually common to see the CPU is going higher because there is a lot of logs generation, and this will also impact the other course of actions you have to do. Like you are creating policies, but as CPU is going higher, it's taking a hell amount of time to create the policies. So but actually we have the options. You can deploy it to other machines as log servers only. So you can set like this, okay, management server, we know we have to create the policies from here and it will push to the gateway. But once gateway has to send the logs. It won't send to management server. We have now deployed two other machines for this one. So we deployed two log servers for this one, or maybe one, and we have defined, okay, firewalls has to send the log server to this one. Now the functionality of handling the logs is being handled by these two servers. Management server has said, okay, please deploy to other two servers. I'm already very busy, right? So we can do this kind of stuff. So this is what makes the solution scalable. Or further, you will see, so this management server also offer other services like identity collector. It's actually being used for a blade, which is identity awareness. We'll cover this later, okay? It won't make sense now. So this smart event also, and this endpoint management also. So these are also functions. We'll definitely cover these. But if you will keep running all these functions plus log services on a single management server, its CPU will definitely goes higher. If you have a limited like end users, your infra is not that much big, you have only like single firewall, single management server, in those cases you won't need these extra machines. But once your infra is becoming bigger, you need these machines. So we'll see but how you actually deploy this. Doing the deployment is very easy. So how to actually configure that, okay, these function will now being handled by this server. So how to do that part. Okay, about this stateful inspection is will be a new thing for those who does not have firewall knowledge that much. So we have this firewall, right? I will start from router's perspective. Now everybody I know would be aware about router. So if I have a machine on this side of the router and its IP is 192.168.10.1, it's connected to this interface of the router. It is ETH 0 by 0. This is 0 by 1. And on this side we have another machine 172.16.1.1. Now I have deployed an ACL on this interface and it's in inbound direction, and on this interface also this is in inbound direction. Now if you guys, it's been ages you haven't worked on router, I would just refresh your conceptual like the concept. So once we have this ACL in inbound, and if I just imagine the traffic is being generated from this source and destination is this IP, so traffic is going this way. So we have ACL in inbound direction, so it's going to check the traffic against the ACL when traffic is going this way to this way. And if the ACL is on this interface also in inbound, so it will check, won't check the traffic when it's going this way, it will going to check the traffic when it's coming back in the reverse side. So if I have ACLs in both directions, what I need to do to allow this traffic, I should have an entry in this ACL saying traffic going from 192.168 to destination 172.16. I want to allow like with permit action. Similarly on this ACL you should have a return entry. So source will going to be this one and destination will going to be this one, because on the reverse source and destination will be opposite, right? So source will become this one, destination will become this one. Now when traffic is going in the reverse side, we have ACL here in the inbound direction, so it will allow the traffic only if we have in the ACL this entry. So this is how things work in the router if we have the ACLs in both direction. So similarly it used to be same thing in the your firewalls as well before this stateful inspection feature. So after stateful inspection feature, but changes came in the packet processing. So firewall you started maintaining a stateful inspection thing. And once we created a policy only in a single direction, like going from our LAN to this suppose WAN machine, so we need to create a policy definitely for this one. But once the traffic passes, it actually keep that record in its stateful inspection table, so that the reverse traffic, when it will come to the firewall, the reverse traffic will automatically get allowed based upon this entry in the stateful inspection. So your all the firewalls nowadays work on this feature, stateful inspection. Yeah, so you actually need to know, okay, firewalls come with this function. Okay, any question up to this point, guys? Okay, now about so if I see further slides, one second. Okay, this is a network diagram. It is the same one that you were actually seeing live, but I have in the EVNG. So this is from where we are going to start, but eventually we will deploy then a firewall in HA, and we'll see how to do this. And we will also deploy management in HA. We'll see, okay, how to do that. We'll deploy a device which will work as the log server. We'll see how to do this. And then we'll deploy MDS instead of management server, how to do that, and firewall in the virtual, like how to do the VSX thing. And during the course, like we'll create VPNs. So we'll see if this is management server is also managing this gateway, and it's also managing this gateway. How to create the VPNs between these two devices which are being managed by same management server. Or if you have any other vendor device, how to create the VPNs between these two devices. And for the remote access, we'll see, we'll define remote users here, and we'll see how the traffic will come to this firewall. And after connecting the remote access VPN, how this user can access the internal resources. So about creating your lab in the EVNG. So if you go on EVNG website, they actually have given process how, because if you go under EVNG, so we know once we have to add the node, it basically the image has to be in the EVNG before using it. Otherwise, it will show you as this grayed out option, like Cisco ACS. I do not have image for this one. So doing this, adding this device is pretty simple. If I go to like how to video, and if I'll just search for checkpoint, so you just can follow these steps. Now the option to download the image, I will provide you the image of checkpoint R80.10. So once you have that image, you just have to create a directory. Just change the name to 81.10 here, and just follow these steps. And once you did these steps, what you then have to do is, so if actually I show the deployment, there are two things in the deployment. First you have to like, once you add the image, right? So first there will be an installation which will happen for the Gaia, and then you have to do the first time wizard. Now maybe the things are not making sense. So once you have this, like you will add the device, you will first go through Gaia installation. So it will be on CLI. You just say, okay, on this interface, this is going to be the IP, this is the username and password, these kind of stuff. So once you will done with Gaia installation, I'll show you like what will it will show you. It will show you this stuff. So if I run, so it will say in order to configure your system, please finish first time wizard. This is the second step. So once you do the installation, second is first time wizard, which I haven't done also, just to show you guys. And for both gateway and management server, a point need to be noted. There is a single device. There is a single image only. The image I will provide you is same for gateway and management server. Hey, hi Amit. Can you please go on mute? Yep, thank you. So the image I will provide you, so it will be similar image for deploying management server and gateway. It's actually the first time wizard where you specify whether this device going to work as gateway or management server. Now I will just, for this class, we'll just see how to do this first time wizard, and this step which it is showing here, I'll tell you what is the actual benefit of doing this stuff. Okay, this why to do this 9 number stuff. So we'll do for the management server first. Okay, so management IP is 10.1.1.1. Now if from my host machine, if I type https 10.1.1.1, so your first time wizard, you have to go, you have to do it through this web UI. So admin password. Okay, so this is R80.10. Just continue with the next step. So this IP is already configured on the ETH0. If you see our lab, this is the management server. This is what I have accessed. This is ETH0. It saw the IP is already configured. We'll just do next. Okay, here we have to give the host name that we want for this device. I'll see cpmgmt, and you can configure your DNS IPs here. Okay, we'll just configure 8.8.8 public DNS, and we'll say next. This is time settings. I'm just going with this one, but in your real infrastructure, you obviously will have an NTP server. It is very important. The time on the management should be correct and should be same with the gateway. Otherwise, it will create a mess. I'll give you example what kind of issues I have seen when the time is not correct. Always best practice, use NTP. Okay, moving next. This option you will use once we are configuring MDS. MDS, we know, where we create like multiple domains of management server inside a single management device. We are not doing that. So I want to do this device works as security gateway only. So do this. Further, we will unselect this one. So I want this device to work as security gateway only. So you will do next. Okay, you do just next. And activation key, just configure a password here. I'll tell you what's the reason where we are going to use this one. So you finish this one, and it will do its processing. And meanwhile, we can start for our firewall as well. Sorry, I did wrong. So this device, we selected gateway, right? So we did wrong.
Yeah.
We actually have to do the management server.
Correct.
Yeah, but you just got the idea, right? I have to change this one. So once you will do for the management server, the only difference you would see, you do not have to select the password it asked earlier, the SIC password. So it's just you do on the firewall, you have to do that. So basically this password we use so to add the gateway into the management server. So we'll use the same password there. So once your this this installation will be done, right? So we'll see, okay, the GUI part of the gateway. But if I go to this management, this evng link, so you will do this stuff, right? After doing this, you will add the device into the evng, and you do this stuff, yeah, okay, right. So do the like follow these instructions till fifth. So after fifth, you will be able to see checkpoint device here under the node, right? You set up your cabling, and once you do that, you will do login into this device. If I stop this one, yeah, we can stop this one. So you have to select VNC first time during the installation. So once the installation is done, the part that I haven't shown you, the first part, like the Gaia installation, you just have to configure the IP, the username and password. So just shut down your machine after that, doing that part. So once you shut down, then what you have to do is you have to go to this location under the evng. So you port number, they have mentioned everything from where you will find the port number, the UIDD, and the node ID. Node ID would be basically, if I do, node ID is 1 for this device, like this one. And if you follow this stuff, I'll tell you what is the benefit. So if I add a new checkpoint device, like here, so I do not have to follow the first step, the Gaia installation. It will skip the Gaia installation always. So you, on your new device, once you add new checkpoint device, you do not have to do the Gaia installation. You directly can do this first time wizard, because here is the difference where we actually define this is going to be gateway or this is going to be management server. If you just follow until 6, every time you add checkpoint device, new device into your lab, you also have to do the first time wizard. These things are making sense to you guys? Okay.
Management means network. Which one would we select?
Yeah, sure. I'll just show my configuration, what I have. So if I go under the evng settings, so I have 2 interfaces. Okay, first interface, you guys, I would say keep it in bridge automatic mode, like bridge mode, and select this replicate physical, this one. Create a new adapter and keep it in, let's suppose, like VMnet 3 or any VMnet. You will have other options as well. So suppose you also choose this VMnet 3. So on this part, you only have to do this thing. And the next thing that you have to do, you go under this virtual network adapter. You will see your VMnet 3 here, and it will be having any other range, not this one. So you can use your own range, maybe use this one itself, 10.1.1.0, unless your host machine is also not running this same subnet. You got what I said here? So if I see on my host machine, if I do if config, so my machine IP is like, if I see my machine is connected to a LAN port, like LAN cable. So I have this IP, and the subnet I have selected is different from this one, right? So you can use this one unless your home Wi-Fi is not using the same subnet. So you do this thing, you will see this gray out. You have to select on display settings once. to do the modifications here. So you just select, put this subnet here. I think by default it will be something else. So it should be host only. You will select this subnet. It means like from VMnet 3, we define we are going to use IPs from these subnets. It is important to configure it here. So once you have configured this here, the other thing you have to make sure is once you will configure that subnet here, you will see a VMnet 3 adapter gets created on your machine. And you just have to give the IP to this adapter in the same range, 10.1.1.100. So now what we are doing in this case, I have my host machine, and on host machine there is a LAN cable connected, and the IP is 10.0.0.100. I just show you that, right? Now we have created a new adapter. It's a virtual adapter, and its name is VMnet 3, and we have given on this adapter IP 10.1.1.100. So until here we just have done this. Now let's understand how this connectivity will make this connectivity. So on EVNG, if you haven't used this option ever, so we have an option like network, and under the network you will see these like bridge management, cloud 0, cloud 1, cloud 2, these options. So what this does is, if you select this cloud to cloud 1 like this one, its mapping is with EVNG's second interface, whatever you have, second interface. So let's suppose if I have another adapter here as well under the EVNG, I have third interface. So if I want to for that interface mapping with this cloud, I will use cloud 2. It is always one number behind. So what means now this cloud I am using as cloud 1 because my adapter number is second, which is mapped to VMnet 3. Now this is cloud 1. Now what it does is, if I add this cloud here and I add any machines here, so this cloud will let VMnet 3 subnet to talk to these machines. Making sense? So if my machine, I created VMnet 3 adapter, its IP is 10.1.100. Now if I built this cloud, this adapter can talk to these machines like this. Through this cloud, it can talk to this one. They are in same subnet. It can talk to this gateway. It's also in same subnet to this machine as well. But the thing is, the VMnet 3 has to be here. On the EVNG, your adapter should have VMnet 3, and you should have a cloud here. One number less than what's the number on EVNG. Is it easy to understand?
Yeah, we'll see.
Your voice does not give that confirmation.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Mohan, you got it this?
Yes.
Okay. So you, if anyone for you, this connectivity will make any problem, I will be happy to assist. Okay, no problem. I know this is hard to understand for many guys, but yeah, no problem. So but at least I want you guys to do steps until this one, the steps which are mentioned here, because you can perform these even this connectivity is not working, because we need this connectivity from our host machine so that we can do first time wizard. You need the web access.
These are only VPC or Windows machine you are using?
These are only virtual PCs,
In
not.
this topology, what is where we can find the Windows machine? Are you using or not? Or all the VPCs?
No, these are all the VPCs, but
Okay.
these are only initial, Sam.
Okay. Okay.
Because in the next classes, we'll definitely need a window machine from where we can test our URL filtering, those kind of stuff. Uh, yeah, it's as of now it's only virtual PCs. I think it's a by default you will get in the EVNG.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Second question is like as we discussed in the course contents, the
Mm-hmm.
FWM monitor is there. It will come, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's very powerful.
And
Mm-hmm.
the redundancy, like I heard the two types of redundancy in checkpoint we use, cluster XL or VRRP,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
But means
I'll cover VRRP also, but mostly we use cluster Excel for
okay,
just for the sake of what VRRP also offers. We'll also
okay,
see that. Yeah.
okay. Last question is,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when we download the checkpoint images, you
Mm-hmm.
will provide that, okay? But I heard that after 15 days it got, it expire, it gets expire.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
so how means we will upgrade the means extend
License.
those license, so without any deleting the previous configuration, can we do?
Yeah, actually, Sam, the thing is, I try to look for whether we can download licenses if we just create account. But yeah, we cannot do that. So I'll find if I'll find other way to for this problem. But
But
if
we can
you.
do. I heard because someone told me,
Mhm.
my one of my friend. So he said we can do without any deleting, without deleting any configuration, previous configuration, but before 15 days.
Yeah, so we can take the backup of the configuration.
Okay.
You can put that backup in the new machine,
Okay.
but I don't think that because in the lab setup we know we don't do that much configuration, right? So that is also time consuming if you do the backup and we'll put the backup again. But it's a part of lab because I want to show you guys how you do the backup and you can put backup back to the device. It's actually part of upgradation itself. So once we do the upgradation, you can get scenarios, right? So in scenario you have device, you're just upgrading the software. You're going from R81.10 to R81.20. In some scenarios you're also changing the device, you're also upgrading. So in that case you pull out the configuration from this device, let's from this device. So I'll pull out the configuration, I'll take the backup, I will deploy a new device, and on that device I'll do fresh installation first, and I'll put this backup which we taken from earlier device to new device. So it's a part of upgradation.
Yeah,
Uh,
upgradation very hard, in the production on checkpoint.
yeah, we see errors, but some scenarios here we see problems. But
Okay.
you need to know what are different ways how to take the backup. In the backup itself, there are options whether you want to take the backup with the logs, without logs, these kind of stuff. Uh, yeah, there are many things.